What's up, ladies and gents, and welcome to another episode of Dual Senses, a PlayStation podcast, where we give you our 2 cents on all things PlayStation. My name is Alex Wolf, and I'm joined here by the one, the only, Steven the Demon Morrow.
Hello. I real fast. I wanted to say that I'm sorry for the lateness again. It's not because I had to poop this time. It's because of a dog sitting emergency.
And he's a demon.
And because I'm a demon. But that's common knowledge at this point. So my apologies to you, Alex, and to our audience.
It's all good. It's all good. At this point, we are consistently inconsistent. But you can catch the show live each and every Friday night at 9:30 Eastern Time, or whenever else we decide to just, do whatever the fuck we want to do. If you can't catch the show live, by all means, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube a day or so later. Of course, be sure to rate, review, and follow us wherever you're listening. If you want the show a huge level of love, head on over to www.mtfproductions.com/donate, where you can send as little as $1 and we can put together the best PlayStation podcast we can. That's right. You like that? That's right. I edited that like half an hour ago. I was like, you know what? Let's just fucking fix it. I'm sitting here in the basement, cold as shit, with a cold coffee.
A brick
Actually,
coffee.
It's still pretty warm.
Oh, that's good. It's a good mug then.
I think it's from Starbucks. Hold on, I'm seeing. Yeah. Nope. Not from Starbucks.
Oh.
Not bad. Don't know where I got this thing. Probably a gift.
So Steven, how have you been,
buddy? No, you go first.
All right. Okay. I've been doing all right. I haven't been home in the past like 3 days, except for like literally just like 2 minutes ago.
The dedication.
Yeah. Because I was dog sitting. But it was fine. It was nice, I guess. I haven't played very many games over the past few days because of it. But I have thought a lot about playing games. So there's that.
Man, what a life where I have thought about playing games. Honestly, I've played a little bit of video games here lately.
Really?
I recently got, just a little bit. I dabbled back into Monster Hunter Rise on the Switch. Okay. The lady has been playing it, and I had to play catch up because she was playing by herself. And I was just like, I couldn't. Monster Hunter is one of those games where if I take a long pause, I have to be really, really motivated to jump back in. Like because there's too much.
Yeah.
But it also feels like with each iteration of Monster Hunter that they simplify the gameplay and make it really accessible. So getting back into this one was like riding a bicycle, which was super surprising. So there was that. She is actually currently playing Kirby with her sister, and that looks
that came out.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun. It's really pretty, very simple. The game is really fucking easy. Like the highest difficulty setting that they have is the wild, which is like hard, and they're just kind of breezing through it. So there's that. So if you got a little one and you want to play co-op, because the game is fully playable in a co-op mode all the way through, pick up Kirby. There's that. I made a comment. I was in Target 2 weeks ago, and we were shopping around, and every now and then I would look at the pops. I don't ever really buy any, but I always like looking to see what's out there, And really the only franchise of pops I'd ever buy and own would be Yu-Gi-Oh ones, because it's not as popular. It's a niche thing. It's not like I can find a good I don't need a massive statue, a small little thing. And so we were at Target, and I made a comment like, she's like, you want to see if there's any, like, the only ones I want are Yu-Gi-Oh ones, and Target never has any. I don't think they ever carry them. A lot of them are exclusives. She goes, what? No, we've totally seen them at Target. I'm like, we have never seen a Yu-Gi-Oh pop vinyl at Target. Here we are 2 weeks later. She has bought me 4. And I'm like, God damn it. And she's very much only picking them up for me just to prove a point. And I'm like, I get it. Yes, I understand.
That's good information to know, though. So next time that you want something, just say something that's not true about it, and then she'll buy it for you to prove you wrong. Like that's what you got to do.
See, I don't.
Got to game the system, Alex.
You know how rare it is. I actually want something, Like that's the biggest problem. That's another reason she does this is because like typically she's like, "Do you want this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I already bought it." Like, nah, I'm good. I just kind of ignore it. Like if there's something I want, I just do it.
Yeah.
I am incredibly difficult to shop for. So because I just do the damn thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I want it. All right, cool. Like Christmas, my birthday, like, I don't give a shit. I probably already bought everything I wanted. Just you can send me money or just say happy birthday. I'm good. You know.
Yeah.
Steven, we
Yes.
don't have a massive show right now, but we got some things to talk about. We've
Hmm.
got an update on the Gran Turismo fiasco. Um,
Yes, we do.
we've got an update with that. We've got a new update launching officially for everyone with the PS4 and PS5. Ghostwire Tokyo's launched. And then we've got some big old fucking rumors with Project Spartacus. Steven, let's just kick it off from the top with this Gran Turismo update. Let's see here. So Kazunori Yamauchi, president of
Polyphony.
Polyphony Digital, creator of Gran Turismo, put out a statement on the PlayStation blog, apologizing for the debacle that was the most recent update and like the 24 to 48-hour outage of Gran Turismo 7, where you could only play maybe 1% of the actual game. Some
In my
compensation.
case, 0%.
Yeah, it was a fucking nightmare. Any hooser, there's a statement out there essentially apologizing, saying, "Hey, we messed up. There's some free money involved. There's some reworkings of how things are done. A bit more, some explanation as to why they did some things. I'll let you kind of run the ball with this one because I don't play Gran Turismo. So let me just
So
take it from the top.
I'm really glad that um, this statement was made, because if you remember our previous episode, I I had some qualms with the statement that was made, basically saying, uh, this is not a direct quote, but it was basically saying, "Calm your shit and wait," is what uh, he said to their fans, which I thought was pretty shitty. And I specifically mentioned that they should do some kind of a thing, like some in-game credits or something, because the game was unplayable for 30 plus hours, um, unplanned. So yeah, but so to quote part of the statement, so Kazunori said, "I would like to apologize for the frustration and confusion caused last week with our patch updates, which resulted in not only a server outage, but also adjustments to the in game economy, which were made without a clear explanation to our community." And that's actually what I think is one of the bigger or larger debated things, was the changes to the way that credits and stuff worked in the game and
Hmm.
rewards and stuff. So the fact that they acknowledged not just that they fucked up on a technical side, but also that they fucked up on explaining what was going on to the community, and the reasons for the changes. That acknowledgement I thought was nice. That's what I wanted to hear. I also wanted in-game currency, um, because I'm an entitled gamer, and lo and behold, once I get back in Gran Turismo 7, I'm going to have 1 million credits waiting for me. And anybody else who is affected has until April 25th. If you log in, you will receive 1 million in game credits. So that's pretty cool.
You
So
will
that's
have also
nice.
had to have logged in before that post was
Yeah.
made. So
Yeah.
anyone like just, I'm gonna buy Gran Turismo 7 and get free money, it's not gonna work. Sorry.
Well, also, that would be a pretty stupid thing. Like,
Very much so. But I mean, a lot of
uh,
games do that though. Like, hey, we fucked up. Here's free credits to everyone, just because it's easy. Like, why not
yeah.
just make it? It's harder to limit than it is to just give it away.
But yeah, so if you were affected by the outage, you can log in and you'll have 1 million credits. But one thing that I appreciate about the statement is they go into detail about future updates, not just like coming very soon, but also like a little bit further out into the future. So I'm just going to go over some of them. It is kind of a lot. But in early April, they're updating Gran Turismo 7 to have increased rewards with events in the latter half of the world circuits, by approximately 100%. So 100% more money, to counter the lower rewards for earlier events that they did. Um, Also, there's going to be higher rewards for completing the circuit experience, which is basically like time trials for portions of the tracks. Increased rewards for online races. They're adding like 1 hour endurance races. They're adding an increase to the amount of credits that you can have in game in your wallet, basically, and increasing the quantity of used and legend cars that are on offer at any given time. And then throughout the rest of April, they're going to have a series of other updates that are going to add new cars, new course layouts, and other like little smaller fixes. And then without a specific date, beyond April, they're going to add some larger features, including more World Circuit events, additional endurance races and missions, including 24-hour races. I don't know what that means. Does that mean a 24-hour long race or a big race that happens like once a day? I don't
Yeah,
really know what that
when I
means.
read that too, I didn't know how to. I don't know if it was a grammatical thing or if it was just the way I was reading it, but I imagine it's like a either an event or there's going to be where there or maybe there's a and it's only for 24 hours or they're going to have 24 total hour long different races.
Yeah,
I doubt we're going to see a
unclear.
24-hour long
Well, I don't know.
thing where people play for a straight 24 hours.
There's a track in there that's like it's like 30 or 40 minutes to do one lap on I mean if you drive like I do at least. Uh for it's like the Nürburgring, which is like a famous really long track. Anyways, they're also adding the ability to sell used cars, which is pretty cool. That's been in previous Gran Turismos, but now there's this. So it'll kind of have an in-game market, which will be nice. So they've laid all this out. They've explained some of the reasons for their changes, specifically increasing the amount of in-game currency it takes to purchase certain cars in the game to reflect the real-world prices, but also decreasing the rewards for certain things. And they seem to be countering that with new missions, increased rewards, the ability to trade cars, and things like that. So my question is this enough? And does this solve the problem? And I know you said that you don't really play Gran Turismo, but how do you feel about this, Alex?
I mean,
From the outside looking in.
the outside looking in, from what I'm hearing, this resolves the issue. Like, or at least it is enough. It's a good forgiveness. One, again, you got the credits, a million credits. That's a lot, and you could buy a bunch of cheap, smaller cars in the game, or if you want to just ball out and get one super luxury car in there, you can. So you've got the flexibility there. You also have the blatant. It's an apology. My biggest thing from this, reading it last week, was it just seemed like a big fu. There was like no explanation, and nor did he offer to give one when
Yeah.
explaining as to what happened. It was just like, "Hey, we're doing this. We broke this, and then by the way, we're actually going to like just revamp this. Just understand we're like let us know how we're messing up, but just understand we're going to take care of this." And it's like, no, because for 48 hours you weren't taking care of it, but now all of a sudden I
Yeah.
just need to trust you because you told me to. But at the same time, you're telling me to tell you when you mess up. Okay, here, you messed up. So I think that's fine. Is this a solution? That's a hard question to answer right now, right? Because we have a roadmap of what we would like to see, but we don't know if there's going to be changes, any hiccups. We don't have an exact timetable. We don't have dates, and then on top of it, we may say those metrics and those numbers. That sounds great on paper, right? But we won't know exactly how tedious or lack thereof it will be until it actually hits. Um, this is
Yeah.
more for you, right? How do you feel? Do you feel like it's enough? Do you accept the apology?
Um, I I suppose I accept the apology. I don't really care much for apologies in general.
Okay.
Um, I mean I appreciate apologies, but I think actions speak louder than words.
Hmm.
And I get the impression that the 1 million credits wasn't going to happen unless there was the backlash. Um, because otherwise, the original statement I feel like would have been the one that would say, "Hey, sorry, here's 1 million credits." But because there was such a visceral and loud response to the initial update, I think that's kind of why they're doing it. So yeah, but I don't feel strongly one way or another about the apology itself. I do like the million credits. I did specifically want credits in the game because I wasn't able to play it when I wanted to play it, and I would have probably earned about 1,000,000 credits during that play session too. So there's that. Um, Now the updates and stuff, all of this, I genuinely believe they were planning on doing all of these things. He sort of
Yeah.
hinted at doing that in the first update, even though he did it in kind of a passive aggressive way. Um, Also, this is very much so in line with previous updates for Gran Turismo Sport. Uh, and the ability to sell used cars has been in previous Gran Turismo games. So all of that checks out. It lines up. All of these things are things that I expect anyways, like the new cars, new updates, the updates to prices, more missions and events and all of these things. That all makes sense. Um, so that's good. As far as like the gameplay and balancing and all of that, everyone's concerns about the game itself seem to be addressed, and the future looks bright for the most perfect racing simulator out there, um, from a gameplay perspective. However, I still have some concerns about the online requirement because, I mean, this happened the first major update for the game, and the game was unexpectedly essentially shut down and unplayable for 30 plus hours. Maybe this was just a fluke. Maybe this was just a one time thing. But is this something that's going to happen now? Like, is this something that I should be afraid of anytime that there's an update for the game? Am I going to be like, oh well, I have to update this game, but am I not going to be able to play Gran Turismo for another day or two? Like that's kind of shitty. Like
I
I
think in that case, if there is an outage of that scale, there will be more of a heads up, if at all. Like if there's going to be another outage at all, there will be a heads up. I don't think just because they're aware, now it's
well, I mean, so usually whenever there was an update for Gran Turismo Sport, they
mhm.
had pretty regular updates, and usually it would go offline for like an hour or two. Sometimes it would be like 6 hours, 8 hours, but it was never like a ridiculously long amount of time. And yeah, they would give a heads up. They would say we're going to be offline during these times because that's when they're updating the game. Um,
Mhm.
but for it to be completely shut down in the way that it was before, like they even mentioned that it was something that they didn't see during any of their testing. It was completely out of the blue. It surprised them, and they shut down the game because of a security um, concern. They were afraid that it like something was compromised, and so they shut it down. And if that happened once during the first one, I'm wondering like this gives no reassurance that that's not going to happen again. The
Well,
the
I
update
think
didn't even mention that.
I think the practice. I think it might be implied. Hey, we messed up. We didn't see this. If they are a good developer, like that's the only way you can put it. If they're a good developer, they're going to be more alert and more aware of situations like this happening, and focusing on ways to prevent it from happening again. If it does happen again, at that point, Polyphony is their credibility as a long-standing developer for PlayStation is gone. It's out the window. It's lost. Period. So, I mean, 25 years of Gran Turismo doesn't mean shit if a situation like this happens again, because that
That is
just
actually
shows a level of care that they don't have. So
that is kind
that
of an
that's how I
interesting
feel about
point.
it.
It's also it's interesting to think of how one mistake can fuck up our view of an entire studio. Um, like I
I
have a
think it's
great deal.
I think it's a scale of the mistake. One a tiny mistake is one thing, but this was a big fucking mistake. Like that's and with even if it was something that happened, it's the timing and the scale. It happened not even a month after launch of the game,
Mhm.
after critics have already raved and reviewed this game and said it was perfect, and more often than not, people have bought this game off the shelves because of those critiques and the positive feedback the game has gotten, and then gotten this game and could not have played it for about 2 days. That, like, if this happened 3 years down the line, that's a different story, right? Like, oh, okay, the game's out, it had a mishap 3 years for the launch. No one's talking about it at that point, right? Except the people actually playing the game. And it's like 3 years later, like, oh shit, I wonder what happened. Something must have gone wrong. This close to just coming out the gate, that's a different story. It's a totally different conversation. That's like, I mean, that's if Grand Theft Auto had launched back in 2013, or not even before then. When did that? I don't know. Was that 2013 when it came out on PS3 and 360?
Yeah, 2013
Yeah,
was
2013.
GTA 5.
If that game launched and it was, it got the scale of, everyone loved it, great, 10s out of 10s, and then 2 weeks after launch, the whole fucking thing, campaign, online multiplayer, the whole shebang just didn't run. That game, granted, Gran Turismo is a bit of a weird one right now with the fact that it's been almost 15 years and it's still pumping out money. That game would not be as successful as it was when it first came out. No way, because people would have been pissed.
That's
It's like,
actually it's interesting that you bring up Grand Theft Auto specifically, because here recently we had an instance where Rockstar released the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, and it was a broken disaster of a game. Like, it was disgusting how fucked up it was. Like, to the point where it performed worse than the original games, and this was like the original trilogy. Like on
3 Vice City and San Andreas.
the original 3D trilogy, I guess, on PS2, and the games were performing worse in the alleged definitive editions, and it was still the best-selling game that week. They still sold multi-millions of copies. People still played it. People on podcasts, like very respected podcasts, were even talking about how much fun they're having with the game, and kind of excusing a lot of these issues. But that game was a mess. And then also at the same time, like recently, CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk. We see that. And now, they recently teased the new Witcher game, and people seem to be kind of like, did we forget about what happened with Cyberpunk, where it was basically an entire year of garbage?
And that's the thing. So how
and
much
then
of something like that affecting, like, that's a perfect example, Cyberpunk. That game came out a fucking mess, and it went on close to a year later. That game has been on sale at least 3 times for $10 at Best Buy. And that was after it was confirmed the next gen version would be coming as a free update to those who bought the game. Like,
yeah,
that
but
game, that's fucked up.
So that is fucked up. But I do think it's interesting. Like, I don't think what happened with Polyphony Digital and Gran Turismo 7 is anywhere near as disgusting, in my opinion, as what happened with
GTA.
No, the CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. And
Oh, no question. Yeah.
And to a larger extent, me personally, I think, well, maybe not to a larger extent, but Rockstar with the Grand Theft Auto trilogy. And I'm particularly upset about the Rockstar one because there's really no excuse. Like, Rockstar has a ridiculous amount of money.
And the games were fine 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and they literally like they could have just not released the trilogy for another year or two, and they would have been fine. They chose to release it in the state that it was. Like, and really bothersome. But as far as like the legacy of Gran Turismo, I don't think this necessarily stains it. I think that the only thing that potentially could is, yeah, if it is a continued issue. If during the next update the game goes offline because of a security issue, because of the online only requirement. Like, the online only requirement is something that people complain about a lot, but honestly, not a lot of people who play Gran Turismo 7 are complaining about it. It's a lot of people who are kind of outside of it saying, "Oh, well, this is DRM," which, yeah, online requirements, that is a form of DRM, like digital rights management. But that's not why they're doing it for Gran Turismo. They're doing it because they want to counter hackers and keep the game fair and competitive without without allowing people to game the system, because it's such a very specific and particular respected online community within the game. So like that makes sense, but it's just scary to me that I spent $70 on a game that I might just not be able to play. Uh, when I want to play it. And I think if you spend money on something and you want to play it, you should be able to play it. But
True enough. True words never spoken. Haven't been spoken. Whatever that phrase is. Who gives a shit? Anyway, moving right along. The PS4 and PS5 system software updates released globally on March 23rd. We did talk about this recently. Was it 2-3 weeks ago? This was in beta beforehand. So the update includes, I'll go through this pretty quickly, the ability to create or join open and closed parties on both PS4 and PS5 consoles. UI enhancements to the game base and trophy cards. Accessibility features like mono audio for headphones. Accounts registered with the US or UK can test drive voice commands to let them find and open games settings, much like the voice commands did on the PS4. There's some new pro tips in the control center. So the little game guide cards that were on the game base beforehand now have some pro tips. What defines that differently from what the tips were before? The tips before weren't pro, I guess. So there's that.
Well, just to
like when I read that, like, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like, you're telling me that tips before were shit.
This is I checked this out. The pro tips is actually kind of like if you have like an iPad or a MacBook, it's like the help center where they're like, oh, this is how you can use the system and take advantage of these features. So it'll highlight certain features and there's like a little video that explains how to do it. So specifically with this update, they added like a thing that explains the voice commands. It gives you an example of the kinds of voice commands you can do. It tells you how to enable that in the settings, things like that. So it's like how to use your system and take advantage of the features, and it's an option there in case you're more visual and you don't want to just go through settings and figure it out for yourself. So that's what that is. It's not game based, it's system based, like how to use the system.
Okay. Well, moving up with that, the PlayStation app also updated to reflect the changes on the consoles. So create and join open and closed parties, and updated the game-based UI. Remote play also got a little small update with dark mode based on the phone setting and screen reader for languages both in iOS and Android. Big thing, probably the biggest thing out of this. This is all detailed in the PlayStation blog post. Go check it out. Probably the biggest thing, and it's the biggest thing out of this, I feel like, and it didn't even happen yet, is variable refresh rate coming to in a future update to PS5. So this will graphical updates, more fluidity in gameplay in the future for those with an HDMI 2.1 cable and compatible television. So that'll be cool once it hits. Probably more details when that actually does happen. So
yeah, that was a very popularly requested feature. Even before the PS5 came out,
thing to put in that blog post because it wasn't a part of the update, and it hasn't happened, and we don't have a date as to when it happens.
I think it's because it was something that a lot of people were pretty vocal about, and I think they just wanted to be like, "Hey, don't worry, it is coming. We are listening." Instead of like, whenever there's an update or whatever, there's always that asshole in the comments who's like, "But what about this feature that is still missing and you didn't say anything?" Now they at least said something about it.
True.
So there's that. I actually I actually really like the voice command feature that they added. It's a little bit different from the PS4. Like this is a little bit more like
it's a little more in
serious.
depth.
Yeah, like it talks back to you. There's like a nice little voice, and I like the voice. So it'll actually like It'll be like, "Is this what you're looking for?" And now if you say something, uh, like, let's say I'm looking for a game, and I'm like, um, "Hey, PlayStation, find Uncharted." It'll now, instead of just picking one thing, it'll come up with a list, and then I can say, "Oh, it's the second one," and then boom, and it'll take me to that. So like, it's a little bit more in depth. Instead of just doing one thing, it'll come up with options for you that you can choose. And I like that the voice talks to me. Um, I like that. So the UI, I can't remember if this is new for this or if it was in the previous one, but the ability to pin things to the main menu of the PS5, like the number has increased, but even still, like oftentimes there's things that are just kind of hidden. And instead of having to go all the way to the game library, I can literally just be like, "Hey, PlayStation, I want to play a musical story," and then it'll just bring it up like that. So it's just kind of nifty. It's a time saver. It's nice. And then the voice controls, at least in the US and the UK, can be used to control media as well. So if you're like watching a video, you can be like, "Hey, PlayStation, pause," uh, and like it's just a nifty little thing if you don't want to stand up and reach for the controller.
I like pressing buttons. I don't know. I never liked the voice command. I don't even use voice command on my phone half the time. Like,
So I use voice commands specifically to find games because I hate having to find them in folders. And at least on my PS4, I had so many fucking folders. And on the PS5, like it only has like 10 games or whatever on the main screen, and then everything else is in the game library. And there's no way for me to just jump to a letter. I have to scroll. Um, and I mean, you can search too,
if I
but
say, can't you search?
yeah, but that's
There's a
that's
button.
more button presses.
You press
Because
one
then you have
button,
to no, you have
two
to
buttons.
spell the thing, so you have to
Not
press
if
a
you're
bunch.
searching by a letter. If you're searching just by a letter, you just press the letter G and boom, you got
Yeah, but
Guardians of the
then I
Galaxy.
still have to fucking scroll. Anyways, the the markings of a good UI is if from point A to B, it's the least amount of input, and voice input is one input, and so it sometimes it's nice, it saves time, and I like using it to search for games. That's like my main use for voice commands in a thing is just so I can get to the thing without having to go through a whole fucking scavenger hunt.
Mm-mm-mm.
It is a nice
Well,
voice though.
I will probably never listen to it. Uh, Following that, Ghostwire Tokyo has launched recently. I believe it was at the 25th that came through. It was sometime last week. It wasn't
That
a
sounds
Tuesday
right.
launch, I don't believe.
Was
Um,
it a Friday one?
it, Part of me wants to say it was a Thursday launch. Hold on, because I remember looking at the launch date and I'm like, that was a random time to launch, but okay. Ghostwire Tokyo launched on March 25th. Okay, so Friday.
Cool.
Right, right. Hold on. Make sure I know
I
what day
think
is the week.
25th was a
Yes,
Friday.
that was a Friday. That was the past Friday it launched. Um, some average reviews, nothing crazy. And people are loving the art direction and the design of the enemies, things of that nature. But the gameplay is kind of story is kind of okay. So you're seeing a lot of sevens in the ranges there. So I'm okay with it. I didn't expect this game to be bombastic or anything crazy, especially as we saw more of the gameplay. I mean, granted, I looking at it, it looks like a total game for me. Like
Yeah,
I'm ready for it. I don't
I like those
need
hand movements.
yeah, I feel like a fucking Naruto character, like, oh,
And then the
I
little
can't wait.
strings.
And then the strings, it's like Doctor Strange. It's Japanese Doctor Strange. It's all I need. I'm here for that. Anime Doctor Strange.
Anna
I feel like
Strange.
I am strange. Hmm.
Stranger May.
But yeah, check out the reviews if you're still on the fence about it. But it sounds like it's a pretty good time. So even if you're looking for like a what, I think the game itself isn't like terribly long. The campaign is under 20 hours, I believe. So if you're looking
Yeah.
for a good story, fun little time killer, I suggest check it out just based off the numbers there and my own personal interest.
I usually, whenever a game gets more mixed reviews, I feel like it's a game that piques my interest more because, like, it just means that it's a little bit more quirky than other things. Um, so Yeah, I mean, I think the game looks like a lot of fun. I think the world looks cool, and even if the
Hmm.
combat is a little bit repetitive, that was some people love the combat, and some people said it was like just really
Yeah.
repetitive. But like that's fine. Like if the world is interesting enough, and then that's fine. But also like sometimes games that are a little bit more mindless are great for like listening to a podcast while playing. So like I kind of split. Like sometimes I really love super engaging games, and then sometimes I just want like a mindless thing where I can go around, kill a demon or three, and just listen to a podcast. So
See, I can't do that. I can't play a game and listen to something, and I have to. The audio I hear has to be coming from the game. Otherwise, I'm taken out of the experience. I've tried it with numerous things, even like first person shooters. Like if I'm playing online, nope, it's got to be the game audio. I can't do it. This is a common practice that you do is people listen to podcasts when they're playing a game, or there's a really grindy bit like, oh, okay, I'm just trying to do this to farm and level up my character or whatever. And I'm just like, nah, I can't do it. It could be the
see,
most grindy damn thing in the world, the most repetitive thing in the world. I've got to. The only audio I want to hear is the game audio. I I'm weird. I don't know what to
I
tell
mean,
you.
I think that's fine. For me, it very much so depends on the game itself.
Hmm.
Like certain game, like I've been playing a lot of like weird wordy puzzle games lately. Like I just finished a wordy puzzle game. I think it was called like Cryptic or Cryptode or something like that. And that's very much for me a podcast game. Like I'm just trying to solve a little puzzle while listening to, NPR or something. But for our audience, for our audio listeners or anyone tuning in live, um, how about you? Do you play games with podcasts in the background? Does it depend on the game? Or are you like Alex, where you have to have the game audio be the main source of audio? Write in at bemorethanfriends@gmail.com, or you can comment under this video on YouTube, or on Facebook or wherever. Um, Let us know how you play games and if you play them with maybe music in the background, listening to a podcast. What do you do? Let us know. I want to know, and I'll share it on here.
Steven, it's time for the big meat and taters.
The big meat.
The big meat and the big taters. Steven, there's a lot of rumors swirling around, a lot of speculation that we will get. Oh my God.
I put the big meat on the screen. I'm sorry. I, I I'm sorry. I'll put this back.
You done?
Yeah, yeah,
You
I'm done.
unprofessional heathen.
The big meat.
Any hooser. Rumor has it Spartacus details will emerge to the public in an official announcement from PlayStation this week. So, again, if you have not watched the show for the last 2 months, Project Spartacus is a revamp of the PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now service. The latest rumor that happened about a month or so ago was that there would be a new 3-tiered structure or payment structure for the game, one being 10, 13, and then 16, respectively, leading up to you have the basic tier being what your current PlayStation Plus subscription is now, then leading into the secondary tier, which leads into some more titles available to stream, adding, which is more that PlayStation Now subscription. And then the third tier just being, this one wasn't as clear cut, if I remember correctly from the last time. And it wraps all of that in, but some more exclusivity behind it. They didn't mention if that was going to be more retro titles being added on, or more exclusive free games, or if it was just all of the, who knows. But we're expecting to hear something here. Greg Miller actually tweeted out there are 3 rumors out, um, which is crazy to think because I've only seen the one, which is Spartacus, being revealed this week. Greg Miller typically doesn't play PS I Love You XOXO is delayed because of how much people are banking on hearing an announcement coming from Greg Miller, from Drazen Schreier at Bloomberg, it's all but confirmed that we're going to have a big news week for PlayStation,
A bunch of
with Spartacus leading the charge there.
industry journalist media people, basically, that have a lot of connections with,
Hmm.
PlayStation people in the industry. The fact that they're delaying the show, I think, is
Yeah, all but
interesting.
confirmed. Like this has never happened before, nor they ever really commented on something like this. At least in Greg's world. I mean, I've never,
Well,
not that I could think of in recent memory, where he said, "Oh, hey, we're expecting a lot of rumored stuff." Like he says it on the show. That's it. Nothing before, or even like hinting he knows some information. I've never seen or heard before on anything from Kind of Funny, let alone Greg Miller himself.
yeah, and I mean, despite while he is known to sensationalize things, yeah,
Hmm.
I think that this is of note, and I think that this is interesting, and like, even if it's just Spartacus, that's a big
Hmm.
deal. This is something, I
Yes.
mean, we've talked about it, like you said, for like 2 months now. I mean, even technically before we even heard rumors about Spartacus, we've been talking about, what's PlayStation's response to Game Pass going to be. Um, I feel like basically ever since we've started this podcast, we've been talking about Game Pass and how PlayStation is going to be able to compete. Um, so yeah, even if it's just that, that's a big deal.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if other things are being hinted at, um, where even if any one of those things, whatever the fuck they are, um, I think in Greg Miller's tweet, he specifically says, if any of these three things are true, then this is going
Hmm.
to be a very interesting week for PlayStation. Um, I wonder what the other two things are.
Yeah, so I did some digging, and I was wondering to see if there would be any more industry type folk commenting on that, or if there's been other talk across the interwebs about anything else. Unfortunately, no, I didn't see a lot of verified sources at all really commenting, saying anything extra. The most I saw is a lot of people are expecting another acquisition, a big acquisition. A lot of people expecting it to be either Square Enix and Eidos Montreal, Capcom, and what was the third one? I sent
Konami.
it to you. Can no.
Oh, as far as like the third possibility, was it God of
From
War something or
software.
other?
From software.
Oh, From Software. Jesus, I'm
That was
sorry.
the third studio. I was like, what is the third one? I can't think of it. Those a lot of people expect it to be one of those three. Uh, what seemed pretty unanimous is a lot of people are expecting some God of War news, even like a specific PlayStation state of play around God of War. Um, I don't know. So here's my prediction of how this week goes.
All
Tomorrow
right.
morning, we get a PlayStation blog post stating there will be a state of play happening this Thursday, um, at let's say 3 p.m. Pacific time, right? That'll be noon our time. So I expect we'll get Spartacus. That'll be the biggest chunk of it. We will get some God of War news, and probably a couple of updates on some other games. Maybe. I don't think we'll get a specific state of play for God of War yet. It'd be really weird to have a specific God of War state of play, but also talk about how they're overhauling their subscription services. That doesn't make sense because at that point, I don't think I don't that's two state of plays at that point. That's not just one.
Well, unless God of War is part of their plans for Spartacus, like if it's included in it
Possibly,
or
but I
something.
mean,
Like
we
I feel like,
also
sorry.
no, you're fine. We also don't know what games are coming with PlayStation Plus for April yet, so
Mhm.
I think we'll get those. Um, with those two extra tiers, if it is a tiered system, we will get a lineup of games showcased, um, in those things, so people know they have something to look forward to if they subscribe day one. We may get some day one releases via that subscription service. I don't think there'll be anything big. I don't think God of War by any means. I don't think Sony's going to take the Microsoft approach to that, at least not yet. I don't think Microsoft even had that approach when Game Pass first launched. I think it took about a year before we got day and date stuff on Game Pass. And even then, I think it was more, we'll put these two exclusives on there. And then it became, we'll put all of our exclusives on there, just to see how successful would the subscription service be. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm expecting. I think we'll have a state of play on Thursday.
So I do think that, I mean, from the sounds of it, there's going to be something this week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting. Um, I also think if there's any kind of game announcement or game focus or anything surrounding anything to do with Spartacus, the immediate question will then become, is this game a part of Spartacus? Is this game a
Mm-hmm.
part of, you know, PlayStation's Game Pass or whatever? So I almost feel like they're not going to talk about any other game at all around Spartacus unless it is. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's going to suck. Is from now on, like once Spartacus gets announced and once we hear about it, every time anything ever happens ever again, in the same way that we see with Game Pass, the question is, oh, is it going to be on this? Am I going to be able to play for free? Is it going to launch on this? And because PlayStation is now in a position where, again, whatever Spartacus ends up being, unless it's somehow dramatically different from Game Pass, it's going to be compared to Game Pass directly. And so they are directly competing with Game Pass. And so they're going to have to either meet them where they are or surpass them. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster, in terms of how it's perceived by the general public. And
Mm-hmm.
so, unless Spartacus is mostly focused on like legacy titles and going, backwards with backwards compatibility, or um, like enhancing older games, like we've talked about PS1, PS2, and even PSP games being a part of the service is a big part of the rumor. Unless that's the bigger part, like the bigger feature for Spartacus, then people are just going to expect day and date exclusives or games launching on PlayStation Spartacus or whatever. Um, so I don't know. I'm kind of not looking forward to that being the never ending conversation, but also like I don't think any of the surprises, quote unquote, the two surprises that we don't know about that are
Mm-hmm.
apparently being talked about within the industry. I don't think any of them have to do with God of War Ragnarok. And the reason why is because I don't think that's big enough. We already know that the game exists. We've already seen it in gameplay trailers, and even when they show like extended gameplay, that's not out of the ordinary at all. I feel like the past couple months we've had a lot of extended gameplay looks at PlayStation exclusives, and yeah, God of War is a big game, but I think we already know that the game is awesome. Like it's already gonna be God of War. Um, so like I don't think that's one of these things that Greg Miller was hinting at in his tweet. Now an acquisition, maybe. There are still a lot of rumors about things like, I mean, we talked about this a few weeks back, or maybe even a month back now, like talking about like Capcom or Konami um, being acquired and things like that. Um, but we've also talked about rumors about things like a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake or a new Silent Hill project. Um,
These are
all
all things that
these,
you want. I very much don't think we're getting those things,
well,
but
these are things that not only
for the
that I
record.
want, but there have been rumblings within the industry about these things.
Mhm.
So those are things where that would make a splash, because those are things that have been rumored but have not been confirmed, and they would be new.
Mhm.
So I mean, basically, I don't think God of War Ragnarok is going to be even a part of this unless it's in conjunction with a Spartacus official announcement and saying God of War Ragnarok day one. That would be
It
huge.
I think what we'll see, I don't think we're gonna get exclusives for free. I don't think it's gonna happen. That's not in Sony's cards, not how they that's not how they do things. I think we will see PlayStation Plus again staying the way it is. I think we will get a PlayStation Now merger where we will be able to stream games on that library, and that's that. Like that, just anything that's on PlayStation Now right now, boom, you have access to if you do our second tier. The third tier, I think we get more legacy titles for free. I think we'll see a discount, maybe 10, maybe 15%, 15 at the most on PlayStation Studios games. That's it. I think we get that. And on top of that, probably some exclusive content like DLC. Um, you might get upgraded to digital deluxe editions. Who knows? Something of that sort for those games. I think we'll get that with Spartacus announcement. And I think with the Spartacus announcements, that's like you said, we'll get games that tied to that. So God of War Ragnarok will get a release date, probably. We're almost halfway through the year. We're through Q1, right? We're through all the first quarter of the year. We don't have a release date for the biggest game of the year, arguably, at all. But we've seen gameplay. And from the gameplay we've seen, it's solid. We even know that there's not going to be a third God of War in this trilogy, in this game, in this series of God of War shit, if you will. So a release date's the only thing we're missing. I don't think people need to see a whole lot of gameplay yet. I think people are like, when's it coming? I think it'll be subscribe to PlayStation Plus or whatever to get 10% off or 15% off in this exclusive content. I think we'll get that. Hell, we may even see you get the game early because you're a subscriber. So we get these games 3 days early, right? Like we see it now with
Be
sports titles
interesting.
left and right. If you pre-order our game and you do it through this, you get the game 3 days earlier than everybody else. I expect we'll see something like that. We will see everything under the sun but free games that are for new releases, at least. I will be, if I see that, I'll shit my pants right there. I'll be mind blown if PlayStation starts giving away free
Can I
games for
hold you to
brand
that?
new. No, because if I can't force it, then I hurt myself and I'm in the doctor's office.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. Alex is going to shit himself live on DualSense.
Just right there. So I think we'll get something along those. I think we'll get complimentary service to those games. That's the most I could see. I think God of War will be something we see. We may see a little bit of Spider-Man. You know, they're gonna flash their big items, right? The big hitters. It is a 35th anniversary of Final Fantasy. Is it Final Fantasy as a whole or Final Fantasy 7? Hold on.
It has to. How many years did you say? 35.
Yeah.
That's got to be Final Fantasy as a whole. Or are we old? I mean, either way, we're getting old. But
on. Yeah, okay. Final Fantasy is a franchise. So
okay.
I expect we'll either see more Final Fantasy 16 or we'll see part 2 of Final Fantasy 7 remake or both. And we might get more information on Final Fantasy 16 and the reveal of part 2 of Final Fantasy 7 remake. That I could see. We will see possibly Spider-Man, maybe Wolverine, just little tidbits, nothing crazy. We'll definitely see Forspoken again. That'll be a thing.
So
We'll
these are your
probably get
predictions for if there is a state of play.
if there's a state of play, we'll see. We may see they're probably going to advertise Ghostwire Tokyo just because it just launched. And with prior games, we usually see something that's already been released, and it's just like, hey, don't forget, this just launched a week ago, kind of deal. We saw it with Deathloop, we saw it with Horizon Forbidden West, so on and so forth. We may, I'm trying to think what else is going on. Like I said, we will definitely see PlayStation's flagships. If they're talking about how they're revamping their structure and their subscriptions, there's no way they're not going to talk about their flagship games, especially the ones that haven't come out yet. Like that is guaranteed, because otherwise, like, you've got to flash. Like, okay, cool, the service is happening. Why should I subscribe? You're gonna get that attention with some kind of reveal, and a big again. We're probably gonna see some stellar fucking PS Plus titles for April too. Like, you can't kick off this service and release shit, right? You've got to have a January type month in April to kick this off. Period. It'll probably be a strong first party title, a recent one as well. I'm thinking within the last year or two. So it'll be something that's never been on Plus before. It'll be something that wasn't a part of the PlayStation Plus collection. Do I have any idea what those games would be? Fuck no.
Returnal.
Returnal could be one.
That's if as a PlayStation Plus game for April, I think Returnal will be cool because it just recently got the update for free with
Mm-hmm.
the co-op and Ascension. Returnal's
Mm-hmm.
been going on sale a little bit. Um,
It's true.
and we know that Housemarque is working on another game. So this would be a good way to get people kind of introduced to Housemarque. And it's a PlayStation Studios game. I think Returnal will
Mm-hmm.
be kind of like a big thing for them to do. But even
Last of Us
still,
2 multiplayer, I could see that. We're
that
talking
would
PlayStation
that would
Plus.
be
That's a
interesting.
mandatory thing to play online. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw.
For that to be
And
bundled in with Spartacus, that would make sense, actually.
mm-hmm.
That would make sense.
We could see some kind of reveal on that.
But, like, I'm just trying to think, like, fucking Greg Miller, god damn it. That post has got me thinking because 'cause I'm like,
It's got the whole
for
world.
him
There's a fucking article about on Push Square right now. It got the whole world thinking because he's never done that before, like
and, like,
ever.
to make a post like that, it's making me think, like, all of these ideas of what I can think of, it's like, I keep asking myself, "Is that big enough?" Like, Spartacus would be a big deal. But like for anything else, like I don't care about seeing more God of War. I don't care about April's PlayStation Plus games. Um, I don't think those are going to be big enough. I don't think they're going to
Not
penetrate the
individually,
industry.
no. I mean, it's
But
not
like
saying it's going to change the industry. I think I think it's just a matter of it's just a big week for PlayStation in general. I don't think it's. We're not going to see anything game changing industry wise here. No, because that's not been part of the conversation.
well,
We've
Spartacus
got
would
these.
be game changing industry wise. It
But
would
okay, so
inherently.
then that's all you need. Now all you need is so you make Spartacus your headliner. Everything else underneath it is supporting.
Yeah, but the
Everything like
other for him to say that there any one of these three would be a big deal, and to put like we know one of those things is Spartacus, so they're being put on the same level. So I feel like that would have to be something like a Silent Hill reveal with Kojima, um, like
yeah,
something that level.
possibly. I mean, that's the thing. Depending on what rumor he knows, and he could be saying, "Oh, this could be big," but the level of big could be. It could be they acquired Kojima Productions, and while that would be big, it'd be like, well, duh, like that'd be cool as hell to hear, and it'll definitely spark the conversation. But at the same time, Kojima's first game out of the gate was with PlayStation. I mean, it's similar to Haven Studios. They haven't even put a game out yet, and they talked about how their first big game is going to be a PlayStation exclusive. So no fucking brainer when they were acquired last week. It's okay, like sure, yeah, all right.
And that's been in development for I think 2 years now,
Yeah, so
or
I
like
mean,
a year and a half at least.
it's just like the news will be big. Yes, the biggest news to come out of anything here is what Spartacus is, what we confirm Spartacus to be. That'll be the biggest news, hands down. Unless again, like they do a major acquisition on a big third party publisher like Capcom, like Square, like From Software. That though
Mm,
that'd be the only thing that'd be groundbreaking because Capcom, all of those developers except maybe From Software have a strong foothold in just about every major platform out there. There's not a single person that really favors one over the other in any aspect, except maybe From Software because of Bloodborne and Demon Souls. Everything else has been multi-platform. Their biggest player base is on everything but PlayStation with From Software. Square Enix, like yeah, okay, they love Final Fantasy on PlayStation consoles. But I mean, there's plenty of Square games that have hit the Switch and have never made their way to PlayStation, and have even made their way to PC and Xbox before ever coming to PlayStation, if at all. Um, Capcom, similar way. I mean, they have a big fucking fan base with Monster Hunter right now, and arguably the biggest one right now is Monster Hunter Rise is on Switch and PC, never coming to PlayStation. Um, you've got Devil May Cry, Street Fighter. There's
well, there's
so much out
also
there.
Resident Evil, which is a PlayStation Legacy title, really.
Hmm.
And Resident Evil 4 VR um, came out recently, but
Hmm.
doesn't have a console version. That would make sense for PSVR 2, and it would make sense for Capcom to, kind of cozy up to PlayStation when it comes
Yeah,
to
I
that.
mean, we could see a VR2 release date or window.
Yeah, but I don't know. Hmm. You want to know my
I don't
prediction?
think that would mesh well. Yeah,
Do you want
let's
to know
hear it. Let's hear it. We've been going on
my
what I think is
crazy
going to happen.
prediction? You
If you
ready?
say jumping flash, I'm hanging up.
Not Jumping Flash. No,
All
this is
right.
bigger.
All right, let's hear it.
Even bigger than Jumping Flash.
That's not saying a whole lot, but oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
PlayStation Home returns to PS5, free with Spartacus, and a PSVR 2 mode launching with PSVR 2 when it comes out this fall. This fall. That's my crazy ass prediction. PlayStation Home has been heavily rumored. I mean, for like a little while, but it's been like kind of ramping up. There have been like weird articles talking about how ahead of its time it was. There's been like strange things happening with like a lot of the developers that worked on PlayStation Home. Recently, a studio was acquired that not only focuses on VR but has a lot of people who used to work on PlayStation Home in the studio. There's been a lot of talks about PlayStation wanting to do more live service things. VR chat is probably the biggest game on VR next to Beat Saber. I think PlayStation Home, it would make sense. It would make so much sense. It would be such a big thing, and it would. I think PlayStation Home in conjunction with a Spartacus announcement, it would just it'd be beautiful. It'd be absolutely beautiful. I think pie in the sky. It may not be the most probable. I think a Spartacus announcement, just at all, is the most probable. But if we're talking big dreams come true kind of bullshit that would get the industry rumbling, I think PlayStation Home, right there. And I made a little banner so that there's physical proof, so that when this comes true, maybe not next week, but sometime later this year, I can point back to this and I can say that Stephen Thomas fucking Morrow predicted that PlayStation Home is returning on PS5. Thank you very much.
It ain't coming this fall. Ain't no fucking way. Especially if you're going to say it's launching with PSVR 2, ain't no fucking way it's this fall.
But no, PlayStation Home launching with a VR mode when PSVR 2 comes out. So, like, PSVR 2 comes out later, but
I feel like
it works with PlayStation Home.
I feel like if you put out PlayStation Home with PlayStation VR 2, especially with the way you're talking about it, it makes sense if those things went hand in hand.
Yeah, you got to get the people there. You got to get them hooked. And then that way, when PSVR 2 comes out, it's like,
Why
hey,
can't
this
you
thing that you love
if
can be
if
even
it's
better with
so
VR.
if it's so if it's so industry prevalent and such a game changer, it's a selling point for VR 2. You say Home is coming with PlayStation VR 2. When you announce
With PSVR
VR
2
2's,
support, I don't think if PlayStation Home is a PSVR 2 exclusive where you need
oh, I don't
PSVR,
even
then
then.
it's doomed to fail.
No, I don't think it'll be an exclusive, but you're gonna want the emphasis will be that you've talked about this with the metaverse, right? Like you've talked how home will be, especially in VR. I don't think you've had a conversation in the last 6 months about PlayStation Home without mentioning PlayStation VR. You yourself. I
Yeah.
would it, you use home as a selling point for VR too. It's not an exclusive, but it's one of those things where it's better in VR. It comes, you get the headset, you install it, much like how Astrobot was a glorified tech demo, a fun one at that on the PS5. That's how you introduce PlayStation Home. Sure, yeah, you can still play it and download it on your console without a headset or anything like that. But it's like, man, if you want to experience PlayStation Home, you gotta get VR too.
See, I think they would want to get it out before VR, mostly because I think that it would hurt them if it's directly associated with VR too much, because Like, I mean, I don't think PSVR 2 is gonna sell massive gangbusters. It's still pretty niche. It's still gonna be like a very I mean, it has to be a smaller audience than the PS5 audience, like,
Oh,
just
for sure.
because it's
Yeah,
required for it. So,
of
like,
course.
um, because I'm somebody who wants PlayStation Home to be viable and sustainable and future proof, I feel like it can't come out alongside it immediately, just because then the associations will be there. But if you build up an audience or build up a user base for something like PlayStation Home and get them to fall in love with it, and then you're like, oh, well, here's a way to enhance this experience. Here's a way to have an extremely immersive experience. And then while you're going around on your PS5 using the DualSense controller, and you see other people with like these weird animations and they're flailing and stuff, and it's like, oh, well, they can do that because they're using PSVR 2. So they're able to, that person gyrating in the corner on that woman's leg, they're in VR. And I can only do the little emote that lets me do the robot. I can't have the smooth little
Well, why
gestures.
can't you advertise that? I mean, there's plenty of games where it's like, hey, like we're doing this, and this is what you do. But if you get the VR version, I mean, it's all just a benefit, right? Like, I guess especially if you advertise, like if you release a day and date, like I don't think it's gonna hurt it. I think home is already gonna be a niche thing for people, at least out the gate. I don't think the everyday person is like, oh man, remember PlayStation Home? Man, that was what a good time. I bought so many clothes and I did so like it's just not a
I think
conversation
PlayStation
happening.
Home speaks to more people than Elden Ring.
I'm not saying it
I
doesn't
think
speak to more people. I'm saying it's not gonna
I
fucking
don't
be
think it's gonna
gangbusters.
be. I think it's gonna be gangbusters. I The best
Especially
selling
if,
game in the past 2 years is Animal Crossing.
yeah,
I
because
mean,
Animal
outside of the usual big things,
to be
like Grand
fair
Theft Auto
though,
and Call of
Animal
Duty.
Crossing has a pretty positive legacy outside of what home designer. Like
PlayStation Home
you,
has a positive legacy too.
the fuck it does. That game was a broken mess for the first few years.
No, but like the people who actually played it,
People
they
that stuck
think very
more than
highly
three
about it.
years in the thing, because the first 3 years of that were ass.
And
As
like
someone who,
anyone looking back on PlayStation Home now does so fondly, even within the industry. It was criticized when it came out, but I think it was
yeah,
criticized because it was again because it was ahead of its time. In the same
hmm
way that a lot of other things have been kind of criticized as well. But like, anyways, this is a larger thing. That's my prediction. As far as like one of those rumored things being some kind of like spiritual successor to PlayStation Home or PlayStation Home returning or something like that. Some kind of like PlayStation centric social experience that creates a virtual community, all that kind of stuff. Um, Being one of those rumors.
how do you tie that into Spartacus? Just out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, because Spartacus is an online service, it's
Hmm.
part of what it is to have PlayStation Plus and things like that. So
Right.
this would be it's an online experience where PlayStation Plus will be required, and then maybe each tier of Spartacus includes something for PlayStation Home.
Okay.
You get like in-game currency, or you get access to certain VIP areas, which is something that they did with PS Home, or
Hmm.
maybe you get your own apartment and club um, in PlayStation Home if you're the top tier. Like, there's a whole number of different things that can happen, but like that kind of an announcement in the same way that you were talking about like Last of Us Online, or like a new Last of Us Factions, having that kind of an announcement in conjunction with Spartacus makes sense because it's an intrinsically online experience and
Hmm.
it's specifically PlayStation exclusive. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you already need to subscribe in order to play online, but look at this amazing exclusive experience that you can only have here,
Okay.
like
All right.
that kind of thing. But
That's fair. That makes sense.
But I
Well,
do I don't think that it's probable. I need that to be said. I don't think that PlayStation Home is highly probable. Uh, I think that
had a
Spartacus.
banner and ready and everything, ready to be the one that said it was going to happen. Asterisk, not probable.
Well, I think Spartacus highly probable. I think some kind of uh, like maybe like a Silent Hill type announcement, or like some kind of old franchise coming back that is quote unquote unexpected, that kind of thing is relatively probable. I think an acquisition may be probable because there have been rumblings and stuff. But yeah, PlayStation Home is like kind of lower down on the list.
It's kind of lower down. He says it's probably bottom of the fucking barrel.
No, that's where Jumping Flash is.
Jesus Christ. Jumping Flash, PlayStation Home. There's your bottom tier. Any hooser, ladies and gentlemen, we will see what happens with PlayStation this week. By all means, keep your eyes peeled. Stay tuned to any and all Dual Senses podcast. Again, this is Dual Senses, a PlayStation podcast, where we give you our 2 cents in all things PlayStation. If you're a fan of the show, you like this episode, by all means, give us a like, a comment, a share, a retweet, or what have you. If you want to see the show grow, make your way over to www.mtfproductions.com/donate. Hopefully, we'll see you this Friday. That'd be great timing because, Thursday announced the thing, and then we got on Friday. Unless we decide, we just decide to do something else and fuck it, we'll do it on Saturday morning. You never know. We're crazy people.
We are insane. We're insane.
But until then, see you guys next time.
Thank you, everyone. Love, love, love.